A woman will literally rewrite the entire story of your relationship inside her head. She'll rehearse the breakup speech, mourn you, and mentally move on, all because you failed to do one thing she desperately wanted but refused to ask for. And the worst part? You'll have absolutely no clue it even happened. Until right now. Because I'm about to tell you everything. Let me start with a confession. I almost didn't make this video. Not because the topic makes me uncomfortable. Trust me, I have zero shame when it comes to talking about the psychology of women. But because what I'm about to share breaks an unwritten code that women have been silently protecting for generations. Researchers at the University of Texas conducted a multi-year study on communication gaps in romantic relationships, and what they found should genuinely alarm every man watching this. 72% of women admitted to wanting specific behaviors from their partner that they had never once verbally requested. Not because they forgot, not because it wasn't important, but because they believed that having to ask would strip the behavior of its meaning entirely. She would rather go without the thing she desperately wants than have to sit across from you and explain it. That truth right there, that single sentence, is the reason so many good relationships quietly fall apart. And if any part of that hit close to home, I want you to drop a comment below right now. Tell me, have you ever felt that invisible distance in a relationship and had no idea where it came from? Because I read every single comment on this channel, and I want to know your story. If this video is already resonating with you, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells YouTube to put this in front of the men who genuinely need it. We're building something real here, and your engagement is what makes that possible. I'm Mary Smith, and welcome to Senior Mindful Living, a channel dedicated to helping you navigate the emotional landscape of love, connection, and the psychology of human relationships with depth, honesty, and real insight. Now, I titled this video the way I did for a reason, but probably not the reason you're thinking. Some of what I'm about to share is physically intimate, yes, but most of it is uncovered in a different way entirely. These are the thoughts she buries because society told her that wanting them makes her too much, too needy, too traditional, too intense. So she shoves them into a mental vault, locks it tight, swallows the key, and prays that somehow, miraculously, you just figure it out. Well, today is the day you figure it out, and I'll warn you, number 3 on this list is the silent relationship killer. There's no argument, no dramatic confrontation. It simply erodes things, slowly and invisibly, until one day she's emotionally gone, and you're sitting there wondering when everything changed. So pay close attention when we get there. Let's begin. Number 7. Interrupt her overthinking with physical certainty. Every woman has a version of this moment. She's spiraling. Maybe it's something that happened at work. Maybe it's a comment her mother made that she's been turning over in her mind for 3 days. Maybe it's a single text from a friend that she's been forensically dissecting with the kind of precision most people reserve for solving crimes. Her brain is running 17 tabs simultaneously, and not one of them is loading properly. What most men do in this moment is try to fix it. They start troubleshooting. Have you tried talking to your boss about it? Maybe just don't respond to her message. And from a purely logical standpoint, that makes complete sense. Problem identified, solution offered, case closed. But here's what she actually wants, and what she would chew her own arm off before requesting. She wants you to walk over without saying a single word, take her face in both hands, and press your lips to her forehead. Or pull her into your chest and just hold her there. No advice, no commentary. Just your physical presence delivering a message that words consistently fail to carry. I'm here. I'm solid. You can fall apart for a moment because I am not going anywhere. Neuroscientist Dr. Tiffany Field, who founded the Touch Research Institute at the University of Miami, has published over 100 studies demonstrating that physical touch reduces cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, by up to 31% within minutes. But what the data doesn't capture is the emotional weight of unsolicited touch from someone you deeply trust. That's not just stress relief. That's safety made physical. She won't ask for this because asking for comfort feels like admitting weakness. Most women have been conditioned from a very young age to handle everything on their own. Requesting to be held feels, to her, like filing a formal complaint against her own independence. So she spirals alone, and quietly, sometimes without even realizing it, she begins to resent that you didn't notice. You don't need to read her mind. You need to read her shoulders. If they're tense, if she's gone quiet, if she's scrolling her phone but clearly not absorbing anything she's seeing, that's your signal. Don't ask what's wrong. Just close the distance and become the interruption her nervous system is silently begging for. Number 6. Say her name, during intimate moments and beyond. There is something neurologically electric about hearing your own name spoken by someone you're deeply attracted to. A study published in the journal Brain Research found that hearing your own name activates specific regions of the left hemisphere associated with self-representation and identity processing. Your name is the one word in any language that your brain treats as fundamentally, exclusively yours. Now apply that to intimacy. Not just physical intimacy, though yes, absolutely that, but also the quiet, ordinary moments. When you're cooking together and he says her name before asking her to pass something. When she's walking slightly ahead of him and he calls her name just to make her turn around because he wanted to look at her. When he's telling a story to his friends and says, "So then Sarah turned to me," and the fact that she exists in his narrative by name, not as my girlfriend or she, but as her specific, irreplaceable self. Most men default to pet names. Babe, baby, hun. Those are warm and familiar and comfortable, but they're also generic. Every woman he's ever dated was probably babe at some point. Her name, though, that belongs only to her. And when you use it in a moment of real intensity, a whispered confession, a heated moment where you stop and say her actual name, a moment of closeness where her name is the only word you can seem to find, it creates a response that no pet name in existence can replicate. She'll never ask you to use her name more, because asking would make it feel manufactured, rehearsed, hollow. The power of it lies entirely in the fact that it feels instinctive, like you are so consumed by her, so specifically attuned to her, that her name is simply the word your mind reaches for automatically. Number 5. Handle another man's attention toward her with calm dominance, not reactive jealousy. This one is layered, and I know it's going to spark some conversation in the comments, and I want that. Be precise with me here, though. She does not want you to start a fight, make a scene, or puff your chest out like a threatened peacock. That's not attractive. That's a liability. But she also doesn't want you to be completely, utterly unbothered. If another man is clearly directing his attention toward her, and you just sit there sipping your drink with zero reaction, she registers that. And what she registers is not, wow, he's so emotionally secure. What she registers is, he doesn't care enough to respond. The sweet spot is calm, measured presence. You walk over. You place your hand on her lower back. You make eye contact with the other man, relaxed, unhurried, completely confident, with a look that communicates without a single word. I see exactly what you're doing. I'm not threatened in the slightest, but she's with me, and we both know it. Maybe you extend a handshake. Maybe you introduce yourself with an easy smile that communicates absolute ownership of the situation, not of her, but of yourself. Evolutionary psychologist Dr. David Buss found that women consistently rated what he called proportional mate guarding as genuinely attractive. The key word there is proportional. Too much and she feels controlled, caged, suffocated. Too little and she feels invisible, undervalued, like she could disappear and he wouldn't flinch. But that precise middle ground, where you acknowledge the situation with confidence, without being destabilized by it, that is profoundly attractive on both a conscious and subconscious level. And here's the part she'll never admit out loud. She might even quietly enjoy that moment. Not because she wants to make you jealous, but because your response tells her everything she needs to know about your confidence, your investment in her, and your willingness to claim her without caging her. That distinction, claiming versus caging, is exactly where most men get it catastrophically wrong. Number 4. Take something off her plate without announcing it. This is one of the most underrated acts of love in a long-term relationship, and almost nobody talks about it with the seriousness it deserves. The American Psychological Association's Stress in America survey found that women reported significantly higher levels of chronic stress than men across every single measured category: work, family, household management, emotional labor, logistics, scheduling. She is running an invisible project management system inside her mind at every waking hour, and the vast majority of it goes completely unnoticed by the people around her. What she wants, what she would never think to ask for, is for you to identify one item on that invisible checklist, without her having to delegate it to you, and simply handle it, quietly, completely, without expecting recognition. The car needed an oil change. It's done. She mentioned once in passing that the kitchen faucet was dripping. You fixed it before she got home. She's been stressed about groceries all week. The fridge is stocked, not because she asked, but because you paid attention. Researcher Eve Rodsky explores this concept in depth in her book Fair Play, where her research reveals that in most heterosexual relationships, women carry roughly 70% of what she calls cognitive labor, the invisible mental weight of remembering, planning, and managing the details of shared life. And the exhaustion, Rodsky found, isn't really from the tasks themselves. It's from being the only one who remembers that the tasks exist. When a man proactively handles something without being prompted, without needing direction, without requiring follow-up, it creates a wave of relief and attraction that is almost embarrassingly powerful. She feels genuinely cared for, not because the task was difficult, because the noticing was rare. And she will never ask you to do this, because asking you to take something off her plate is, ironically, just another thing on her plate. The moment she has to identify the task, explain it, and check whether you followed through, she's already done more work than if she'd handled it herself. The magic is in the initiative. The magic is in her coming home and realizing something is already taken care of, and she didn't have to think about it for even 1 second. Men who master this become genuinely irreplaceable, because in a world where she has to manage everything, the man who manages something for her becomes the only place where she can truly rest. Number 3, and I warned you this one was coming. She wants you to pursue her after you already have her. That's it. That's the whole thing. And it is staggering, genuinely staggering, how many men completely abandon this the moment the relationship becomes official. During the early days of dating, you were extraordinary. You texted first. You planned intentional dates. You complimented her without being prompted. Every single interaction felt like you were actively, deliberately choosing her. Like being with her was a privilege you were fully aware of and deeply grateful for. And then you got comfortable. And comfort is a beautiful thing. But somewhere in the quiet space between comfort and complacency, you stopped doing the things that made her fall for you in the first place. Not because you stopped caring, because you assumed the work was done. Dr. John Gottman, whose research has predicted relationship outcomes with over 90% accuracy, identifies this as the erosion of what he calls turning toward. His data shows that couples who eventually separated had a turning toward rate of only 33%, meaning they responded to each other's bids for connection less than a third of the time. Couples who stayed deeply connected maintained a rate above 80%. She doesn't need grand romantic gestures every single week. She needs evidence, consistent, undeniable evidence that you would choose her again today, that if you met her for the very first time this afternoon, you would still pursue her with the same energy, the same intentionality, the same hunger to know her, that she has not, quietly and invisibly, become furniture in your life. She will never say, "I need you to pursue me again." Those words feel desperate to her, humiliating even. So instead, she goes quiet. She begins investing less because you invested less first. And by the time the conversation finally happens, if it ever happens, the emotional distance has already hardened into something far more difficult to reverse. A random Tuesday afternoon text that says, "I was just thinking about you and I had to tell you." That takes 4 seconds to send, and it can sustain weeks of emotional connection. A date you planned not because she asked, but because you refuse to stop being the man who plans things. That communicates more than 1,000 "I love yous" delivered on autopilot. The men who keep pursuing their partners long after the initial chase is over are the men whose partners never stop being in love with them. The men who stop? They become roommates, slowly, quietly, and then all at once. Number 2, be verbally explicit about your desire for her, specifically, uniquely, irreplaceably her. Most men believe that women want to hear that they're beautiful, and they do, but "you're beautiful" has become the baseline. It's the emotional equivalent of a standard tip, expected, appreciated in a general sense, but not the thing that gets remembered. What she actually wants, the words that she replays quietly in her mind at 2 in the morning, those are built entirely on specificity. Not "you're beautiful," but "the way you tilt your head when you're working through something serious makes it genuinely difficult for me to think straight." Not "I'm attracted to you," but "I watched you walk across the room at that party last weekend and completely lost track of the conversation I was having." Not "you look good today," but "whatever you did with your hair this morning has been distracting me since the moment I saw you, and I want you to know it's becoming a problem." Do you see the difference? The first set of compliments describes her. The second set confesses to a condition. It communicates, "You have disrupted my ability to function normally, and I am not remotely sorry about it." That raw, almost confessional quality, where you're not delivering a prepared line but admitting to something that feels slightly out of your control, that is what makes a woman feel genuinely, deeply desired. She'll never ask for this because you cannot request obsession. It has to come from authentic overwhelm. And here's the beautiful truth. If you actually feel it, and most of you do, all you have to do is stop censoring yourself. The thoughts are already there. You're just not saying them out loud. Start saying them out loud, tonight. And number 1, physically move her. I saved this for last because it's the behavior that creates the fastest, most visceral response in women, and yet it's the one that men are most hesitant to do. She wants you to physically guide her, reposition her, move her, with quiet confidence and without asking for permission first. Your hand on her waist, steering her to the inside of the sidewalk so she's not walking next to traffic. Your fingers laced through hers, pulling her in a different direction because you spotted something you want to show her. Your palm on her lower back, guiding her through a crowded doorway. Your hand resting on her thigh under the table, not performing, not groping, just present, warm, certain. Standing behind her, both hands finding her hips, gently turning her toward something without a word of explanation. A study published in Evolutionary Behavioral Sciences found that women rated physical assertiveness, defined specifically as confident, non-aggressive physical guidance, as one of the top 5 indicators of a genuinely desirable partner. This behavior activated simultaneous associations with protection, decisiveness, and physical self-assurance. The psychology underneath it is ancient. Physical movement communicates that you are present in your body, comfortable in your own strength, and confident enough not only to occupy space, but to include her in that space, without hesitation, without apology. This is number 1 because it exists entirely outside of language. You cannot fake it with words. You cannot text it. It only lives in real time, in the electricity of physical proximity and the quiet confidence to close that distance without second-guessing yourself. She will never say, "I wish you would just take my hand and lead me somewhere." But every single time your hand finds her lower back and redirects her, every time you pull her closer without needing to explain why, you become the man she measures every fictional character and every passing daydream against. And none of them win, because they're not real. And you are standing right there, hand on her back, proving that reality is better than anything she could imagine. So now you have all 7 things women have been quietly, stubbornly, silently wishing for since the very beginning of romantic history, and refusing to verbalize because the asking would undo the meaning of the having. The fact that you watched this entire video tells me something important about you. You are not the kind of man who assumes he already has all the answers. You are the kind who genuinely wants to understand the person he loves, and that quality alone puts you ahead of the vast majority of men she has ever encountered. But I have to say this clearly, knowledge without action is just trivia. I didn't create this video so you could file these away as interesting facts about female psychology. I made it so you could use them, tonight, tomorrow, in the very next quiet moment when you have a choice between playing it safe and doing something that actually makes her feel something real. Choose the second option, every single time. If this video resonated with you, if something in here made you think of someone specific, or helped you understand a relationship dynamic you've been quietly confused by, please share it. Send it to a friend who needs it. Leave a comment and tell me which of these 7 surprised you most. And if you haven't subscribed to Senior Mindful Living yet, do that now, because the conversations we have on this channel go deep, and I don't want you to miss what's coming next. Now here's something that ties everything together in a way that might genuinely shift your next interaction with her. While you've been here learning what she secretly wants, there is an entirely separate reality playing out on her end that you are probably completely blind to. She has been watching, evaluating, quietly calculating, and in many cases, she has already made her decision about you. The verdict is in, and she is not sharing it. The video appearing on your screen right now is called 4 Clear Signs She's Already Chosen You But Isn't Telling You. And if you don't watch it next, everything you just learned becomes only half the picture. Knowing what she wants is powerful, but recognizing when she has already decided that you are the one, that is the difference between a man who is still trying and a man who has already won without realizing it. It's right there. Go watch it now. I'll see you there.